So we just did a really horrible drive, so you don't have to. Look at Jimmy's face.
Yeah, we haven't survived it yet because we had to go back up and do it all over again.
So we were in Ferndale, where all the little Victorian buildings are, and we wanted to go out and see the most western point in the continental United States. And it was just a 39-mile drive from Ferndale out to the coast here. Don't do it.
No, the road's atrocious, and
Oh my God,
we chose a bad day because it was not only is it on and off raining, but there's fog, so there's points where you can only see maybe 50 feet in front of you, and you're on a windy mountain road, no guardrails, no nothing.
all complete drop-offs.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that on the tourist maps. It said, hey, you can see the westernmost point of the continental United States. Cool, let's go. The look on my face is because I'm still trying not to throw up. It's bad. The 10 people who live up there use this road. Yeah, this is the dumbest idea I've ever.
Stupid.
But it was on the map to go see it. It was in their brochure.
You're not gonna be able to see.
I said go to the farthest, most western point in the continental United States. Just take this road out from Ferndale.
You're not gonna be able to see nothing.
I don't know.
It's completely fogged out.
I don't know, but I'm car sick.
And we gotta do it all over again.
And we thought maybe we could find a different way back, but it's worse. So we've got to go back and go up over it. There's no signal. We just saw a guy that we saw in Ferndale pulling a little scamp way behind us, so he must have been going really slow too. There's no lookout points. It's just hills and farm and fog and cows.
Yeah.
So since we're here, we'll show you where we are. This is called Black Sand Beach. Bet you can't guess why. For some reason, it does smell like licorice here. It's probably these plants that I'm standing next to that are probably poisonous or something. Put me out of my misery now. But it is pretty cool to see this Black Sand Beach. So that's the name of the beach. And the point at which is the westernmost point is up there. So the old Cape Mendocino Lighthouse is right where we came down out of this horrible drive. I don't know if it's still there. It says the original. And then when we saw the cows at the water, I don't know why, but that's called the Point of Cows. So I said it smells like licorice here, and I thought it was funny because there's black sand, and I thought I was imagining things. But it's this flower right here. They smell like licorice. Jamie thinks so too.
Yeah.
He's pissed.
It's to help you not throw up.
It is pretty to see the ocean. It is really pretty to see the black sand. It's really pretty to see the driftwood. We got to get back because Dexter's in the RV, and this took way, way, way longer than we thought. Before our nauseating drive out to the Lost Coast, we explored the Victorian town of Ferndale. It's located just 27 miles from ancient Redwoods RV Park, which was our base camp on Avenue of the Giants near Humboldt Redwoods State Park. Incorporated in 1893, Ferndale is straight out of a movie and would make a perfect spot to stay while exploring the Redwoods. There's several highly rated historic hotels and inns here. Dairy farming is what grew this town, and Ferndale butter was considered the finest in the state. Ferndale's pioneering creameries were responsible for many innovations in the dairy industry. Those Ferndale dairy families became very wealthy and showed it off in these huge Victorian-style homes with gobs of gingerbread trim. They became known as butterfat palaces. We've included a link to a guide so you can locate these historical buildings. We chose the Tuyas Mexican restaurant to have lunch for their fresh homemade food. Their love of local art is obvious the second you enter this casual but beautiful interior. Homemade chips.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good?
They're good. Very good.
They have local brewed beers. So I got this shrimp ceviche and their Firestone Walker Amber Ale. Jamie got the enchiladas with fresh tortillas. And what meat did you get in your enchiladas?
Carne asada.
So he's almost devoured those. And then you got carne asada street taco along with that. And then some corn relish. Ooh, that looks good. Speaking of food, perhaps Ferndale's most famous current resident is celebrity chef GuyFeri, who grew up here. Ferndale has returned their love of the diners, drive-ins, and dive star by celebrating GuyFeri Day every April 5th. One of his commitments is keeping Ferndale authentic. There's no tacky souvenir shops along Main Street. Instead, there's blacksmiths, butcher shops, a general store, local restaurants, and galleries. He's even purchased buildings so the local businesses housed in them could remain. We accidentally fell into Sweetness and Light, where they hand-make chocolates using local cream and butter. Okay, we're trying our candy. Which one did you get?
This is the turtle.
Is it good? Looks like creamy caramel. I don't remember which one I got in which order. Marzipan. Oh my god. So good. So good. Oh my god. Marzipan. Dark chocolate. Childhood heaven. In our last episode, we showed you Richardson Grove State Park, then headed north on Avenue of the Giants into Humboldt Redwoods State Park, stopping at Bowling Grove before we went to the Visitor Center. We also made it to the California Federation of Women's Clubs Grove. There's a link in this video's description so you can watch that episode. Today we'll visit FoundersGrove, which is home to the Founders Tree. FoundersGrove is where you'll find the largest and most mind-boggling stand of redwoods along the Avenue of the Giants. So this is a half-mile loop that's recommended in just about every guide you look at. FoundersGrove is so named for those who started the Save the Redwoods League in 1918. Without them, these trees certainly would have become lumber. They believe that there are some places on Earth that are so special they're worth saving, and that shared idea was the motivation to save as many of these groves as possible. Founders Tree was thought to be the world's tallest tree until 1957. Then the Rockefeller tree was discovered nearby.
It says here that the lowest limb up there is 190 feet high. It's crazy.
We've learned that some were saved literally days and even hours before it was too late. Huh. It's amazing. So Jamie's noting what we're seeing with many of these redwoods is look what's left of the bottom, and yet it's still alive. They survive. Another interesting fact is that redwoods experience 3 different climate zones at one time because they're so tall. So at the base might be a moist, cool environment, but at the very top it's dry and windy. And they can have 2 different types of needles. So the base is different than at the top. And here's something I didn't know. I kept looking at how much water they take in each day, but they actually put up to 500 gallons of water out into the air each day. No idea. Never heard of that.
The branches don't even start until like 200 feet up.
So these fallen trees become what's called nurse trees. And the other trees and all the plants and animals in the forest live on these fallen trees. It can take up to 400 years for the tree to fully crumble into the floor of the forest. And then at the top of the trees, kind of like you see this in the rainforest, there's species that we never see because they live in the tops. And there really are flying squirrels, but you don't see them because they live in the tops of the trees. Rocky and Bullwinkle. Rocky was a flying squirrel. I want to see one. Right?
Huge. And that's a burl.
Yeah.
Right there.
Squirrel right there.
It does.
They look like creatures that are crawling out of the tree.
The way the shadows are moving.
That's just crazy.
Looks like a bunch of living things. I mean, they are, but...
It says the bark can be up to a foot thick, so that's like, what, 8 inches or so?
Yeah, at least 6.
That's just bark.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they protected all this for us to see.
It was time to head back to camp at Ancient Redwoods RV Park in time to take Dexter for a nice walk. This park is situated right along Avenue of the Giants and was just 6 miles from FoundersGrove. Everything about this park is done on the phone. They did not take a deposit, however they will charge your credit card 24 hours before your arrival. Our site number was sent to us at that time, and you simply drive to your site and your paperwork is taped to your post. There's a very friendly camp host who came over to introduce herself when she saw us outside. So we did learn that you have to have a vehicle with hookups to stay here. So I don't know if that's somehow with their code for the kind of park that they're licensed to have, but that's the rule. So they're not set up for tent camping or car camping or anything like that. You have to have hookups, and they can take really big rigs all the way down to the smallest as long as you have something to plug in. We didn't choose one of these spots because they're back ends, and we thought, oh, it'd be so much nicer to have a big pull through. But these are kind of pretty in that they've got the backdrop of the redwoods right behind you, and they are very shady throughout the day. So if you're here at a warmer time of year, then of course you would want that shade. But there really isn't any bad sites. All of them are widely spaced. This cute little truck. Follow me to the immortal tree, which is at the entrance. And the immortal tree. Showers and bathrooms. And laundry. Looks like a couple of the spots might be a lot smaller than some of the others. You have to call to make the reservation anyways. They don't do online reservations. If you're here at the right time of year, there's ripe blackberries. Actually, we've seen them all over. So there's some black ones there. Blackberry? You want to try one? No. It's dusty and sour. The Burl and Drift Redwood Gift Shop is at the entrance to the RV park. They've been open since 1967.
How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Right.
Most of the redwood products here have been locally crafted from salvaged wood. They provide picnic tables, restrooms, and a place to park to see the almost 1,000-year-old immortal tree. It's growing trees out of it. Wow. The next day, we had the pleasure of enjoying Humboldt Redwood State Park on a rainy day. We were prepared and wanted to experience the park with this perspective. Rockefeller Forest was the perfect place to roam on a misty day. Between 1926 and 1929, John D. Rockefeller Jr. donated $2 million to the Save the Redwoods League. They purchased 14.6 square miles of old-growth redwood forest that was named Rockefeller Forest. Okay. Big trees loop.
Big tree loop.
Okie doke. Look how pretty. The first rainy day in the Pacific Northwest. So they put in these bridges seasonally in the summer months. The rivers are too high to cross in the other months of the year, so they call these seasonal bridges.
So this is GiantTree.
The deck is closed due to damages. Wow. That is the biggest one we've seen, isn't it?
Yep.
This tree is simply called the GiantTree because there's no better title for something.
363 feet tall.
363 feet tall. And it's still alive. There's living things growing on it. But
I think it's 16 and a half feet wide at the base.
So it's bigger than a football field. And the width, not the circumference, is what?
I think 16 and a half feet.
Wow. The deck is in disrepair from branches falling. They say when the branches fall off these things, they used to call them widow makers. So from the GiantTree to the sign, and we're following the loop trail. Shortly after the San Francisco earthquake and fire in 1906, they looked to find a lot of lumber. And prior to that, they really didn't even try to cut up a lot of these trees because they didn't have the tools. So they cut this one to make the trail. But the earthquake and fire brought in the incentive to develop machinery that could cut some of these up. Well, their goal was to cut up all of them, but luckily a whole bunch of organizations started to save the trees. And they were mostly women's organizations. There's my shoe. He walks
like a salamander than a lizard?
Yeah, I guess so. Walks like a crocodile or an alligator. Here's the FlatIronTree. Well, it said it's 7.5 feet
17 and a half feet.
by 7.5 feet.
Yeah, so this way and that way.
And there's that ditch that you always see where they pulled up from. Again, these things are shallow rooted, and yet they've survived when all other plants struggle. Well, look at how this one that's on the ground, even how the bark has swirled. Looks like it started to have an opening. We only had a couple of days to see this area, and it definitely was not enough. We only saw a few of the landmark trees. There are several other viewpoints along the coast as well. Can you do something that's on your bucket list and then leave it on your bucket list because once was not enough? That's how we feel about Humboldt Redwood State Park, and we'll definitely be back. Today we're headed to our next location, Klamath, which is next to Redwood National Park and the state parks that are right there. And so we're super excited. We're gonna make a stop in Eureka to fuel up and get some groceries, and then we're on our way. We'll see you at the next park. Thanks for watching and supporting Roaming with Rosie.
And we hope you found this video helpful, and really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, hit that subscribe button.
And ring that bell. That way YouTube will serve you our next video when it's uploaded.
And make sure to leave a comment. That way you could be part of the conversation.
Until next time,
we'll see ya.